Hey there. I'm glad you made it. Welcome to Camp Clinton. It's our toehold over here on the west side piers. We've been moving into the area in hopes of bringing it under control. Unfortunately, we're not the only ones here. That isn't surprising. What is surprising is that we've gotten evidence of them working together. That's why we need you here. To confirm they are cooperating, find out why, and once you do that, to shut them down. Good luck. Hopefully you won't need it. I'm hearing good things about you. Glad we've got you here.
Hi guys, Level Up here. I'm back. I've been away for 3 weeks. I've been on holiday, vacation, whatever you want to call it. I was hiking in Peru, which was absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately my timing wasn't great, so I managed to go away just as the last global event kicked off and as the 1.8 PTS started as well. So I haven't been able to really put much time into any of these activities. I literally only had about 3 hours to grind for the last global event, which sucked. So I only got about 3 striker pieces and that is it. And I had a very quick wander around Westside Piers originally in the week 1 PTS, and that was it. So when I got back, I wanted to jump back into Westside Piers and give the new Resistance mode a bit of a try, because as primarily a PvE player, obviously Resistance is going to be the kind of the end game really for all kind of min-maxed characters. So I went and had a quick look to see how to activate it. I wasn't quite sure at first. There we go, I found where it was. So you can activate it from the mini-map, or from the map view rather, but you can't fast travel until you've been there once already, which is, you know, as per any mission or any area in the game. So I went to the closest one. I thought, right, well, I'll just run there. There'll probably be a few mobs to take care of on the way. But the game had other ideas. As you're probably aware, Westside Piers has a new kind of dynamic spawn system going on. So I tried out, when I tried it in week 1, I was just checking it because it's really choppy. It might just be because of the fact that it's still on the PTS, but I thought I was on 4K because it was just it was a lot choppy than I was expecting it to be. But as I say, when I first had a look at this in the week 1 PTS, the mobs were basically spawning everywhere. You'd literally clear a place, you'd move forward 20 meters, you'd look behind you, and they'd respawned again. So I wanted to see if they'd done anything about that. And as you can see here, I just cleared a small mob here, but you can see that actually as I walk forwards, I was expecting there to be another mob in this area here on the left, just on this kind of pier thing, but there wasn't really anything there. So I think it looks as though they've toned it down a little bit. As you can see, I'm kind of scoping into the distance to see if I can see any NPCs, but there's nothing there. So that's good. I think it's a little bit more immersive. If you're just constantly surrounded by NPCs and mobs, it kind of breaks your immersion a bit because it's just kind of unrealistic. And the way they've done it, it seems to be that you get smaller or less frequent mobs, but when they do come, there are more NPCs to kill, which is, you know, quite a good way to do it, I think. So here's the second mob. They're kind of all rushing from the same area initially. I'm running my fairly standard just exotic build, so it's got Skull's gloves, specialised backpack, Barrett's chest. It's not a skill haste build, it's just a sort of fairly firearms focused build. I think I'm running about 4,500 stamina. So obviously stamina is a little bit more effective now in 1.8, so a little bit tankier. However, as I was playing, I did notice that I think they've clearly upped the damage dealt by NPCs, so that obviously because now stamina is giving you more toughness, they don't want to just make it so that you're a complete tank, you know, without having spec'd that much into stamina. So I think they've upped the damage from the NPCs. So what that means is if you are, although the time to kill, or the time to be killed rather, is probably about the same as it was running sort of mid 4000s stamina. If you're going to be running a glass cannon build with, say, 3000 stamina, you're probably going to be squishier, I think, than in 1.7. So as you can see, this is the start of an objective which I hadn't seen before, because in week 1 PTS these objectives were deactivated. So when I killed that first mob, there was something still on the radar ahead. You can see 160 meters away, reached the signal area. So I thought, well, I'll leave the carrier now. I'm right here. I'll go and investigate this and see what it's all about. And I got a bit of a pleasant surprise, really. Everything I'd looked at in week 1 PTS was pretty basic. Like I said, there were a lot of waves of enemies and a lot of dynamic spawns going on, but it wasn't really that challenging. But here, this was surprisingly, I found this quite difficult. With the build I was running anyway, like I said, it wasn't very particularly well optimised. Just a pretty standard build that most players will have coming into 1.8. But there's a lot of, I think the variation in enemies makes it a lot more difficult. So there's a lot of the rushers with the bats, but there's also a good mix of grenadiers and LMB guys as well. So and just this kind of relentlessness of it. So you never really get much time to, I wouldn't say relax, to actually go ahead and try and destroy this jammer that's active. So I thought I'd have a run and have a look, and then I sort of came in and there were quite a few enemies, so you've got to pretty much just focus the enemies before you can even have a chance to attack the jammer. And then I got wedged into a corner with a baseball bat guy there, which then popped my recovery link, which surprised me because that almost never happens in sort of standard PvE stuff. So I thought, well, I'll stay here and I'll try and kill the guys that come out, and then have another go at attacking the jammer. But it's just very difficult because there's, as I said before, you just barely get any time to actually focus the jammer. You're just constantly trying to kill the waves of enemies that spawn. So it is quite challenging. I don't know if it's a good type of challenging or not, just having ridiculously constant spawns of enemies. Whether or not it could be done differently, I don't know. I'd personally rather have different types of enemies, different AI, like legendary AI for example, but with less of them. I think that would make things much more interesting rather than just having like billions of normal enemies to kill. And as you can see there, I tried to attack the jammer and then I was immediately overwhelmed and had to just run outside, get my bearings again, and kind of take stock and attack from distance. So as you can see as well, I don't know if it's because it's blue or not, but it might be. It's a veteran signal jammer, so it has a lot more health than the ones I'm used to seeing in the underground. So it just takes a lot longer to kill. So you need to be able to give it a good few bursts before you're actually able to get rid of it. Try a different approach, try and approach it from behind. You can see again it's taking a while, and then I'm attacked from behind, so I've now got to reposition again and start again, which again, it's like fine. It's kind of what you'd expect. It's challenging, so you've got to often just reposition and come from different angles. These guys are so annoying. One thing that was actually really useful is because I'm running a exotic build, I'm using the rehab mask, and because I'm constantly under status effects, it's just giving me a constant 2% healing per second, which is probably the only reason I was able to do this, because you can see I'm taking a lot of damage I'm running nimble as well, so when I do a cover to cover, I get healing. So even with all the amount of healing available, it was still pretty tricky. So it just adds a lot more, I think, compared to any other sort of open world activity. Obviously there isn't really much in the main game. You've got the light zone boss run that people do. It's pretty much the most easy thing in the world in this game. This is much more difficult and takes a lot longer. It's a lot more fun. But as you'll see, sort of when I eventually complete the mission, I'm not thrilled by the rewards you get. I just don't think... you can see here it's completed as soon as I destroy the jammer. Get one weapon that nobody really cares about, but you only get 3 division tech, which I think is massively stingy. So week 1 PTS, when you would complete a I don't know if it's an assignment or whatever they call it, it's the thing where you get a cache, a West Side Pier cache, you would get 10 division tech out of one of those, and I thought that was pretty decent because they only happen every 15 minutes. Some of them are kind of difficult or very situational, and depending on the build you're running, are sometimes completely impossible. So you can't really spam them and do them over and over. So yeah, I was very surprised now. You're not going to see it here because I'm not going to show the footage, but when you do complete one, the new rewards you get from a cache are 1. So you get 1 division tech, which is extremely low. So yeah, I think and they're obviously not going to change anything else now between now and the live release, which is probably going to be early November sometime. So yeah, it's going to make probably going to the Dark Zone a little bit more of a necessity in order to actually get a decent amount of division tech. Because this, when I was originally sort of thinking the numbers in my head, if you can get sort of 10 every 15 minutes in here, plus gathering them from the crates, where I think you can get about I think it's 16. I think there are 16 different crates in the West Side Piers. You can probably use this as a viable alternative to farming the Dark Zone for div tech, but yeah, I don't think you can anymore. So as I was sort of looking around, I was looking for some crates. As soon as I popped up outside, yet another sort of set of objectives popped up. So yeah, I quite like it. Sort of, you just sort of run around and yeah, like without even trying, you suddenly have all these things to do, which is nice, and it just gives the open world a bit of life. So I quite like that. So yeah, after a while, I'm not going to show you because I went through and I did about another 2 or 3 of these things. And then I happened to be sort of towards the top end of the West Side Piers area, and I was much closer to this powerhouse resistance area. So I thought, right, as I'm here, let's just have a go at this. So this is my first look at resistance. So I've gone down into this sewer area. I don't really know a lot. There's a gate there that I assume requires shade tech, I guess it is. Yeah, shade tech to open. So let's see what this first wave is like. So reds, some blues, purples, sorry. Colourblind, that's my issue. Sniping is not good at the moment.
Unfriendlies left. Only seeing one more hostile.
Last one. Right, so wave 1, obviously not very challenging. So as you go through, see, we pick up the shade tech from each kill, and we're getting 75 shade tech per NPC that we've killed. So as you can see here, wave 2, warning, we're getting EMP disruptions in this wave. So that's going to mean we're not going to be able to use our skills. Again, I'm assuming it's going to be too difficult. Let's see what we get this time. So immediately we're disrupted. A red LMG guy rushes. Veteran LMG guy. So we're not disrupted at the moment, so it's only at the beginning of the level, it seems. Or maybe there'll be one, there's one there as well. So it's sort of periodic disruption going on. Again, not bad for me, running with a rehab mask. So it obviously gives me free healing. So 2 guys left. Here we go. So, as you can see right at the top of the screen, it shows me how much Shaytek I've got. So, I need 1250 to open this first door, and now I've got 1700. So, let's go ahead and unlock this operations area. See what we got. So, it says, so we've got an ammo frags cache, medkits cache, and 2 of those in fact. So if we look here in front of us, you can see, so this is where I can restock. So you can't pick up medkits or ammo from any NPCs, as you probably can tell. The only thing these guys drop is Shaytek. So as soon as you run low on ammo or medkits, you have to come back to one of these crates, spend your Shaytek in order to restock. Which is, I think, a very good way to do it. It confused me at first. I wasn't really sure quite how to restock, but it's quite a good way to do it, because it means you've always got to be careful not spend it all, because it's very easy to just spend it all on the gates or other things that unlock later on, like turrets or pulse stations. So you kind of just need to make sure you've got enough kept back in case you run low on either medkits or ammo. So this is another EMP wave, but yeah, again, no issue really. So let's have a little bit of an explore of this section. So over here we can see this is one of the pulse stations that you can unlock, and there's one up the other end here as well. It's 500 Shaytek to unlock, but I'm already running pulse, and these are quite weak, these ones, so I'm going to just invest my Shaytek into starting to unlock this gate. So this is a data breach wave. What this means is I have to stand within a couple of meters of this laptop in order to secure this breach. It's very open, I can't go into any cover, so it makes it quite tricky. Although I'm only dealing with Reds mainly and some veterans, it's still really a pain because you just open and you can't really move from this position. So it's not such a problem now, but I think later on these levels are going to be very, very difficult to do solo, and certainly not with this build I'm running. So I think later on you'll see it gets much more difficult. So I think it's good because it means you're going to need to, it forces you to change build and change your skills and stuff. So like for example, because it's so open, you might really need to have mobile cover or a shield or something like that in order to be able to stand that close to the laptop whilst also being able to attack the enemies. But you can see this one's nice and simple. So we've already secured the data breach, got a couple of enemies left, and we can finish the wave. The other thing to note is that enemies will just keep respawning until you secure that data breach, so it's not a case that you can just go off to another area and kill all the enemies, because there is no such thing as all the enemies until you've closed off this breach. So you'll just spawn endlessly, which makes it a lot more difficult. So yeah, these pulse station things I was talking about before, I think if you unlock them, you then have the option to upgrade them. And I think what that means is that the first time you unlock it, you get a very basic pulse. I don't think it gives you any crit chance or crit damage boost. I think it purely just highlights the enemies. So if you're already running pulse, then certainly there's no benefit of activating these stations. It's just a waste of your shade tech that you're better off spending on the gates or other fortifications if you can, if you have them. So this is the first boss wave, and as you can see, an old favourite here, Lorraine Barrett's come to say hello. As always, she doesn't put up much of a fight, but that's quite satisfying to kill her. I think it's a similar scenario, possibly, that until you kill the boss, the other guys may constantly spawn. I think that's probably how it works. So if you kill the boss as soon as you can, then you can get the wave done very quickly. Possible downside to that is the more enemies you kill, the more shade tech you get, and shade tech is obviously a pretty valuable resource here, because it's what allows you to expand the map area and unlock cool stuff. So we've now got probably enough to unlock. No, not quite. So we'll have to wait one more wave before we can get into this other gate. Let's see if there's any more shade tech I've missed.
Hostiles inbound in 10 seconds.
So this is interesting as well. So as you can see, the warning messages come up. If I had have activated the pulse station things, they would be offline now. So it means you can't just sort of unlock a turret and just have it there constantly, attacking the enemies, because certain waves it's going to go offline. And this is the first wave where we're seeing drones, which is cool, because you pretty much don't see them anywhere outside of Falcon Lost, and I think they're pretty good enemies, if you can call them enemies. Just add something a bit different to the game. It's always very useful to have a good amount of shock resistance, because sometimes they're quite hard to spot if you're a bit of an idiot like me and just keep constantly getting shocked. So make sure you get that shock resistance on your knee pads. They are pretty quick to kill, so if you actually focus on them for a couple of seconds, they're pretty easy to kill. And I think there's only a couple of even looks like there's only one non-drone enemy in this particular wave. Last drone down, one more guy to go. The other thing to note, you can see when I killed that guy, drone, sorry, I got 125 shade tech from him, from it. And you'll see I get that now. So as you progress through the waves, each enemy will drop slightly more shade tech. So it started off at 75, we're now up to 125, and obviously we're only on wave 7, so obviously that's going to keep going up and up, which is good, because it obviously costs you more and more to get into the later rooms that we want to expand into. So we've unlocked maintenance. I didn't quite see what it said was available in here, so there's going to be more, probably more crates, and there might be maybe a turret as well, which would be good. I think there is a turret in here, but it's sort of far. It's through this room and sort of down towards the back end to the right. Don't really need it for this mission because it's just elites, few elites. You can see the crates down there in the tunnel on the left, on the right hand side. Let's go finish these guys off.
There's 3 unfriendlies left.
It's good to use a sniper just because you don't want to be burning through too much ammo. You've got to actually think about ammo consumption in this, which is cool, which is another good thing to have to sort of consider. Although it is only like 250 shade tech to restock, so it's not really the end of the world.
Seeing 1 more hostile.
So they're offline, it looks like. Possibly because it says shade interacts are offline. So normally I think you'd be able to restock during a wave. I don't think it was because that was one of those shade tech offline waves. We couldn't do it. So you can see it costs 250 and that restocks grenades and ammo. So later on you can unlock special ammo and exotic grenade caches and consumables, so it's going to give you the ability to restock on shock grenades, you know, all the other grenade types and special ammo as well. So I came in here, this is a data breach level, and I was hoping it was going to be the same place as before, but it wasn't. So I fully upgraded a pulse turret that I couldn't use, which was kind of stupid, but it's kind of the luck of the draw. And you'll see that it's gone from basically pretty easy to absolutely impossible. What happens on this wave is that you just get constantly rushed by elite LMB shotgunners. And not just them, like the other enemies as well. And it's one of those with the data breach missions where you're going to have to basically stand next to the laptop in the open, which is just not going to be possible. I couldn't even get close to the area because of the amount of LMB rushing that was taking place. Like you can see here, 2 more LMB shotgunners behind me. You have to retreat again, try and even recover, get back to some semblance of health. They're going to try and come up behind me as well. I'm using Nimble a lot. I'm trying to cover everywhere to get my health back, just so I can even stand next to the laptop for like a couple of seconds, but it's just not possible. So these are the ones where I think, like before Wave 8, you're going to need to absolutely change your loadout. Either attack build and maybe run with a mobile cover in front of the laptop, or even something else like probably a shield build, because you still do a hell of a lot of damage with a good shield build. Although I know it's got some nerfs in 1.8, I haven't been able to test my normal like defense shield build to see how effective it is. I'll probably be doing that pretty soon, but it's just crazy trying to do it with just a standard hexo build solo. It wasn't possible for that wave. I did try it a couple of times afterwards, and it was just like the same. So it definitely encourages you, and I think that's the whole point of it. You need to be adaptable. You need to switch loadouts. You need to do different things. You can't just use the same build. Or you possibly could if it's perhaps a shield build. You might be able to do the whole thing pretty well. Maybe attack build as well. I'm thinking a high skill power attack build with a big mobile cover there in front of the laptop. Just throw your seekers out or your turret perhaps. That may be good enough to take care of it. But I will give it a try and see if I can progress later on. But that was just my first look at Resistance. and I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really good game mode. I think it's definitely going to be something that I will be keen to play over and over again. They did say it's going to be different. Like each wave will be different every other time you play it, and for me that certainly hasn't been the case so far. I know, again, it's still the PTS. I don't know if there's still placeholders or whatever in the waves, but every single time it was exactly the same composition of enemies. Although, you know, the boss wave, obviously it was a different boss each time, but the drone waves were the same each time, and pretty much all the other ones as well. So even if it is like that, it wouldn't really bother me too much. Like I say, it's still a great challenge, and I love a good challenge. So I will be playing the hell out of Resistance when 1.8 drops early November. But that's it for me. I hope you found this maybe useful, interesting. I don't know how many videos have been put out there on the new Resistance mode. I've seen some that just looked at the week 1, where it was unbelievably easy from what I could see. Like that wave 8, basically there were only about 5 enemies, and it took about probably a quarter of the time to secure the data breach. So it's I think it's definitely a lot harder now. We don't know when it's going to drop yet. We've got to assume PTS finishes on, I think it's the next Tuesday. So probably, I'd hazard a guess at 2 weeks from that time. Maybe 1 week, best case scenario. So they do normally drop these things on a Tuesday. So it could well be Tuesday the 7th of November. That would be a guess. But anyway guys, thanks so much for watching as always, and I'll see you all in the next video.